Welcome, travelers. We're aware that your journey was difficult, but prepare to have your questions answered, for you have been granted an audience with the Masters of Modern.
And welcome back to Masters of Modern. I'm your host, Alex Kessler, here with my co-host, Ben Bateman.
Radical, what's up, everybody? I'm excited that we're here. We're talking Magic. This is a good episode today. Yeah.
Serious news voice.
This is a very serious
I robbed
episode.
all of the energy.
You stole it
I
all.
stole it's mine now.
You're an energy thief.
I'm a vampire.
You're a thief of hope.
A notion thief.
A thief of sanity.
I drew some cards
Yeah.
that you wanted to draw. They're mine now.
Did your vocabulary improve significantly from the time you started playing Magic till being now?
I don't know.
Yes.
Mine certainly did.
I mean, it's hard for me to say because I started playing when I was like 10 or 11. But
if I started playing 10, 11, absolutely. I think it does do that. Like, it's proven that, like, kids who play Magic do better on the verbal portions of SATs. But I started playing Magic really when I was in after college. So, like, vocabulary-wise, it was already...
That's fair.
Pretty wide.
You were already really good. You were already really good at spelling and pronouncing things correctly.
Oh no! That's just gotten worse with Magic because there's more words for me to say wrong. But
we are all out of order. This is the Masters of Modern podcast. We talk modern on the show. There's a lot of modern things coming up, and that is the host of the show right there. Where can the folks find you, Alex? If
I'm
they want to follow along?
at Kess Wiley on everything, including Xbox Live.
Wow, that's cool.
challenge him on Xbox Live.
Apex, anybody?
You guys can find me at Ben Bateman Media, Twitter and
Wraith.
Instagram. You can find our Twitter at the MMCast. And that is Marshall James, the producer of the show. Brand new addition in the last few months who has really upped the quality. We've upped our game because of Marshall. How you doing, Marsh?
I'm doing great. Thank you. You're so complimentary.
I feel like brand new.
I mean,
I think he's past that. He's graduated to new.
we did 4 years of shows without Marshall.
Technically, that's not true. He was on an episode before you were. Marshall's on the second ever episode of the Masters of Modern podcast.
Was
You can
I
go listen
really?
to it.
You guys
Yep.
could have seen Marshall's eyes just now.
Me, you,
I had no
Glenn
idea.
Jones did our review of Khan's block,
Was that the first episode?
or whatever block we did the first review of.
Kanzatar here. Yeah, I
Was
think
that-
I recall
that-
that now.
Cons.
We were hot on Jeskai Ascendancy.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep,
We
yep.
were like, is there a 4-color deck that plays Birds of Paradise and just goes insane with this?
Treasure Cruise and
Yeah.
and
Both
Dig.
you and me were like, no, this card's a real thing, and Glenn was not on it, and then it was a thing. It was one
Yeah.
of my very first podcast shot calls that I was correct. It was great.
So, things to talk about on the show this week that are going on.
So today we're doing the best gold color combo per set for color combo.
Yes, Alex and I talked extensively last week and the week before about what is the best card per 2-color combination ever printed.
Put some polls on the internet that we'll be talking about.
And this is a little bit more of a complicated one because we have done lists in the past that have been the top per guild in Modern, specifically for Modern.
We haven't even finished that series yet, and there's even a blue-black episode that we lost.
Yeah.
That we've said exists, and it's the most Dimir thing that's possible.
But good example
The
of that is,
episode that shall not be named.
Right.
a great example of that is when we did the blue-green episode, Slippery Bogle was the #1 card. That is only the best blue-green card because of Modern, not in the all-time Magic.
Well, so there's two reasons to look at this differently. When we've done those episodes, specifically cards in Modern, and some things have changed. I think actually literally the last set added Ravnica Allegiance, added the best and second best blue-green card.
Yeah,
At least I think it added the best blue-green card in Modern. I don't think Hydra Crisis is the best, but I think it's on that top 10. That 10 list was laughably bad, and I think it's not one less laugh. Instead of a ha-ha-ha, it's a ha-ha.
So what we're doing on this one is talking about cards that are really good outside of Modern, but have a decent chance of maybe being printed into Modern Horizons.
Yeah, so if you look at gold cards are really interesting because they have the ability to be pushed more than a monocolored card or even an artifact because they're harder to cast. So even if you have a really, 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 really good blue-green deck, it can only be played if you're playing both blue and green. And on top of that, it has to have a blue-green deck exist in the format that it can even slide into. So often gold cards will be printed in standard. My favorite example is Glissa in Scar's Mirrodin block, which that card is very powerful. First strike, 3 mana, first strike, death touch.
Yeah.
Can rebuy artifacts from your graveyard when creatures die. But there were no lands that let you cast green and black cards in the entire standard environment, so you couldn't play it, or to play it you had to have a very loose mana base. And so Wizards feels like they can be more comfortable pushing gold cards. And it's fun. One of the things that they found really funny when they created Gold in Legends, which is Gold is I think the most popular mechanic Wizards does, period. Like, of all of the different cool things that aren't in every set, Gold is the most popular, to the extent that now it's pretty much in every set.
Yeah, and there's multiple sets that they've gone to every few years. The set is totally based around.
Right, and their most popular sets are Gold themed. Like, Ravnica is often their most popular. Khans of Tarkir is their most popular. The one set that was all Gold is less fondly remembered.
What is that? Conflux?
No, it's
Alara
Alara
Reborn.
Reborn.
Invasion. That whole block was super popular.
Okay, super popular. But Gold is a drawback. Like, it is strictly a mechanic that makes a card worse by being Gold than if it wasn't Gold. But they're just so cool and they're gold colored that it kind of bumps it up to that coolness level. Then you add the fact that Commander, especially with legendary creatures, another mechanic that's similar where people like it because it's flavorfully cool, but there's a huge drawback attached. Those two things add, I think, a lot of value to Gold. But because of that, I think most Gold cards can be added to Modern. Like, we've now gone through the list of all the Gold cards, and there's some banned, looking at you, Deathrite Shaman, that, like, obviously aren't going to work in Modern. But the most powerful cards on this list that aren't in Modern currently, I think could be added to Modern, no problem.
Yeah, so we're going to get into all of those cards. That is today's topic. You guys already know where you can find us. Stay tuned next week for our preview card, by the way. We have a preview episode going up next Monday, so look for that. It's really, really exciting.
Yeah, Monday morning.
Yeah, it's going to be sweet. There's a contest we're going to be running that I can't talk about yet because it involves the card, but it's a sweet contest. We're giving something really cool away, so be sure you check it out. We introduce it right after we spoil the card. Look for that on Monday. I think we should talk about this episode topic, and I think before we get to it, we should address a little bit of the news from this last weekend. The system is down.
Yes.
So,
it's catching on, guys.
The SCG Modern Classic in Cincinnati was won by Mono Green Tron. Second place was Izzet Phoenix, where Prison was third, Amulet Titan was fourth and fifth, Dredge was sixth, Eldrazi and Taxes was seventh, and Mono Green Tron was eighth. I saw another.
I don't think you can refer to Izzet Phoenix getting second place in this event with that side of a downturn when, like, how many of those decks are playing Ancestral Vision? Not Ancestral Visions.
Ancient Stirrings.
Ancient Stirrings. Because it's more than half.
Mono Green Tron, Were Prison, Amulet Titan, and Mono Green Tron. They all play it.
It's half.
It's 5.
5. Oh, it's more than half because World Prison. Yeah, see? Yeah.
I think War Prison plays it. Actually, not every War Prison deck does.
It depends on whether or not it's a green War Prison deck.
But usually they do.
Yeah, usually. I'm going to say usually I'm going to say for the arguments of this without us having the list in front of us, it did.
Because like Opal and stuff? No, they don't.
Come at me, Internet, if I'm wrong.
Maybe I'm just like misremembering offhand, but I thought
normally War Prison decks do.
Right.
I haven't seen a War Prison deck that doesn't.
I guess like Grixis Prison. Yeah, actually maybe not. Now that I think about it, those decks are usually not green. But then again, they don't.
Marshall's looking up. This is why we have a producer. But moving on. So that's, I think, the big news from this event is, now, mind you, the SCG Modern Classic has 2 as a Phoenix in the top 2 as a mirror match.
Oh, sorry. That was the team open in Cincinnati. The information that I had looked up over the weekend, which is why I was a little confused, was in fact the Modern Classic, which the first and second place decks were both Izzet Phoenix. Marshall's here to give us the update.
Yeah, so this War Prison deck was just Dimir colored. So
no visions. So
it was just playing 2 Collective Brutality and
stirrings,
4 were of Invention.
Yes, and that's the key. So I think let's quickly address it, just because we've talked a lot about Izzet Phoenix. First of all, Izzet Phoenix can no longer really be referred to as budget because there's a couple reasons. The first of which is that you have to play some number of Surgicals now in your main and side. And that card is now $60. A playset of Surgicals costs you almost as much as a playset of Scalding Tarns in your deck.
Izzet Phoenix was never a budget deck, and I think that is misconstruing. I think the point that I was making when I brought it up last time was not that it's budget, but that the most expensive pieces of that deck are in many people's collections already.
Historically, it's been referred to as kind of a budget deck. Like since it's come out
because people already own Scalding Tarns, but Scalding Tarns
no, but I mean Tarn
land.
was the expensive card, and prior to that, most of the rest of the deck was like $20 or less. The Phoenixes were like $25, and then otherwise like Spire Bluffs are $7. It was not that expensive compared to like say when Jund was in its heyday or like Abzan decks like that. But right now, it's still over $1,000 because of the increased prices on a lot of these cards. You have Thing in the Ice continues to go up in price. Manamorphose is $20 a pop now. It's an expensive deck.
Yeah.
It's a pricey deck now. It's interesting.
I feel like they're gonna ban a card. If they do ban a card from it, Phoenix will just, unless they ban Phoenix, it'll come back from the Flames.
A friend of mine sent over a piece of tech today. Eric Whiteats, you guys know him probably from somewhere. He's been on the show before, I think.
Yeah, he did a black-white tokens deck.
And he'll come on again at some point. He
was here for the Highlander episode that we did.
Yes, and he sent me a piece of tech that I think is so sweet. Raking
people
Canopy.
are playing that.
Really?
Like, yeah.
People are playing that now.
I didn't know Raking Canopy was a thing. I was like, that is so cool.
Yeah,
It's a green 1 enchantment. Whenever a creature with flying attacks you, Raking Canopy deals 4 damage to it. So it kills every Phoenix and it kills the Drake.
That card is 250. Pure. The foils of that are 250 purely off the back that it's seeing play as a sideboard card now.
Interesting. Yeah.
Otherwise, before that, it was like a 10-cent foil.
Yeah.
One notable thing that I didn't put on the little sheet there, but you were talking about Ancient Stirrings, and Ancient Stirrings is not even in the top 10 most played cards in the SCG Classic. The top 10 go Classic, yes. They go Lightning Bolt, number 1, with 22 copies in the top 8. Then Faithless Looting with 20 copies. Serum Visions with 19. Arclight Phoenix with 16. Thing in the Ice 16. Manamorphose 16. Surgical 16. Thought Scour 16. Sleight of Hand 16. And Sibian Spirit Guide 16.
It's primarily because this is just a 16 decks, and I think 25% of it is Phoenix, right? Is there 5 of them or 4 of them?
1.
I think I see 4 of them. So that's kind of what's going on in Modern as far as top decks go. I mean, Phoenix continues to be a pretty dominant deck. There was information posted by Hagen Kirk, who's one of the moderators of our Facebook group, talking about kind of different eras of dominance for top decks in Modern.
I tweeted on Twitter. You can find it on our Twitter right now, and it's basically his point is like right now Izzet Phoenix is 2 to 3% above in how much it's showing up in tournaments above what Humans was and Grixis Death Shadow was during their days.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that, and it's too quick. We're like too much in the season right now to really be worried about it too much.
I also think they're just not going to do anything until after Modern Horizons comes out.
I agree.
Like,
so
you have a Pro Tour or a Mythic Championship with the specific purpose of testing a Mulligan style rule that as an experiment, if you ban a card right beforehand, you ruin the control, which means that the experiment no longer makes sense. And then you have a set that comes out right after that is going to introduce 256 new cards to the format that are going to hopefully, otherwise I think Modern Horizons is a failure, alter the format in a significant way.
I agree. So
speaking of which,
we will talk more about what's going on in the state of Modern in the next couple of weeks. We are going to get to our top card per guild. Before we do, we'll take a quick break to give you guys a few words from our sponsors. What's up, guys? Masters of Modern here. I'm Ben Bateman.
I'm Alex Kessler.
And we've got a couple quick shout-outs for you guys that we wanted to remind you of on this episode. The first one is Twitter, @TheMMCast. We've had a Twitter for years. It's a great place to interact with us. We post exclusive images of our brand new spoiler cards, all kinds of cool stuff. Check it out, @TheMMCast. It is a great way to support the show. Cass, where can the folks find you personally?
I'm @Cass Wiley.
You guys can find me @Ben Bateman Media. The second thing is we have a YouTube. You may be watching this right now, honestly. You might be listening to it. But one of the big pushes for us in 2019 is to build this YouTube channel. We want to get more eyes, more ears, bigger guests, better episodes, higher production quality. We even hired a producer right now, so you might even see the camera angles changing. Subscribe, like, comment. It's going really well so far, and honestly, if you guys support it, even if you're an audio listener already, it's a huge thing you can do to help us grow this. The third thing, and maybe the most important thing for our long-term health, is patreon.com/TheMMCast. Guys, this year is going to have a ton of cool rewards for you. We really want to make the Patreon feel special, and it's a great way to help us grow. Our ability to hire the producer, to get new gear, to do anything cool in the future is going to be dependent on our ability to actually pay for it. Because right now, Alex and I are just paying out of pocket for the show. You know, we love it, but that's what we're doing.
Well, and the producer will help us kind of make sure we stay on stuff on Patreon, so it'll be a really thriving community.
Yeah. Now, the last thing I want to talk to you guys about is the Command Zone. Jimmy Wong, Josh Lee Kwai, these guys helped us start this thing. Collected.company is where you can find their stuff. They're seriously the most professional Magic people in the world, not named Ben and Alex.
Yeah, they make awesome content every week. Commander Focus. They do game nights. They do the Command Zone is obviously the podcast, the sister podcast of the MMCast. Check them out, Collected.company. It's the same place you can find our episodes every week as well.
And the last thing is if you guys want to check out a great community, check out the Facebook group, the Masters of Modern. There's a ton of people in there. It's very interactive. There are constantly threads about new decks, new conversations. It's very active. Check it out. That's Facebook, the official Masters of Modern group. And otherwise, let's get back to the show.
Thanks, guys.
All right. We're back. Naturally coming back from a break.
Let's learn that from the Today Show. They just open up laughing.
Let's talk about the best card.
The dance-off that we're going to have.
Yes. So Alex and I are going to do this a little different than we've done things in the past. We both have a pick per guild that we are going to.
Because that's the same way we do it in the past.
Well, we're not counting down, though. So, like, I think a lot of them are going to be the same card is the thing. Occasionally they're going to differ, but I think a lot of the cards we're going to choose will be the same.
And so, not for every category, because I think there's some categories that I believe just there is the best card. But one thing I have tried, especially with color combos where the card is in Modern currently, I've tried to find cards that either have not been classically good in Modern or are outside of Modern to talk towards its horizons possible. So I really will almost have 3 cards per set, excluding one color. There's one color I don't have a second pick for.
So let's start out.
Because it's...
We both have our phones here. Oh, I have a pop socket now. I can hang out with you.
Join the pop. Is that one of the exclusive New York Toy Fair pop sockets?
It is. Oh, you're gonna.
We're not sponsored. Mine just has ice hoop film on the back.
Sweet. All right, so I think we should start with our first one.
Well, I want Marshall to tell us color combos.
Well, let's start with the ally colors first. So let's go with
not random. We're just gonna do it in order. Fine. All right.
Do you not want me to mix
Alex
it?
is so disappointed.
So disappointed. Quick, name a color
I
combo.
was going to go white blue first.
I was going to go with white blue
All
first
right.
as well.
I actually found white blue to be an interesting one.
Okay.
The card that comes up in white blue that I wanted to reference that is not going to win, but I think we both agree does not count, is Thopter Foundry because it's not technically a blue-white
that
card.
is an Esper card.
Okay. So I think there's some interesting ones that
Also,
are almost...
it's not the best.
I think we both know what the best one is, and it's
Does
unfortunate.
it rhyme with Smaferi?
Yes. This one's pretty tough because I have made the argument enough times on here that I think Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, is maybe the best Planeswalker ever printed, even more so than Jace, which I don't know if I still believe, but I've made that argument enough times now that I don't think it would be fair or honest for me to claim anything other than Teferi is so good.
It's really good.
That card is pretty clearly the best blue-white card.
I think I'm with Ben on this one. I feel like I've seen enough stuff where at least Teferi is the 5-mana Jace. Like if there's no question he's the best 5-drop walker.
I think it's the third best walker. He's the best 5-drop walker ever printed. I think the other two, Liliana and Jace, Teferi needs to be in a dominant position for a longer period of time than it currently is. And Jace has almost been banned out of Legacy.
Yep. I don't think that it's a fair. I wouldn't say that Teferi is better than Jace at this point. I've just made the argument enough times that if we're talking blue white, I think he's pretty clearly he's the best blue white card.
Yeah, I think that there's an argument between, as far as Planeswalkers go, him and Liliana, and which one is better. And I think that's a good debate, maybe to have on another date if we ever do another Planeswalker rating, which we might do based on the fact that War of the Spark seems to be Planeswalker themed.
So what's your runner up? Because my
Supreme Verdict.
That's me too.
Yeah, it was that or what's the O-ring?
Yeah,
variant?
Detention Sphere.
Detention Sphere. There's a bunch of Detention Sphere level cards that include Spell Queller.
Yeah.
Or include what's the 2-mana one that humans plays?
Meddling Mage.
Meddling Mage.
No, they're all on my list too.
But
Sphinx's Rev.
Sphinx's Rev, but in reality, Supreme Verdict is. And there's arguments that Wrath of God and Damnation have their places, but the best board wipe of all time.
Being uncounterable against any kind of a deck, any kind of a deck that wants to be able to stop you by playing soft removal or soft counter magic and keep their board alive.
Especially since Regenerate has basically stopped being printed, and the only good Regenerate card in Magic is Thrun, the last troll that sees play.
Yeah,
or at least in Modern for sure. I would maybe before it was Golgari Grave Troll in that, but he's banned, so don't have to worry about that card.
This was one that I tried to talk myself into another card and couldn't come up with one. There's a lot of sweet cards. There's some really interesting cards. There's also cards my honorable mentions for favorite cards are Dragon Lord Ojatai. I really like, but they're just not even in the same.
Yeah, Teferi is in a possibly top 100 cards ever printed conversation. None of the other ones are. Next, give me another color. Let's do an enemy. What we're gonna do?
All right, let's
white
do
black.
Okay.
Oh,
I go white blue, white black, white red, white green, then I move.
Oh, want to go through all the white ones? Okay, yeah, sure. Let's do white black.
Sure.
I think this one's kind of easy.
I don't know. I think actually Alex and I have different cards.
Oh.
Sure. Mine's complicated. Yours is obvious. You go first.
Well, okay. So just before I like explain mine, there were a couple cards. One of the cards that I really really liked. Oh, we didn't mention Geist as an honorable mention of blue white. That's like an obvious really good one. We just never said the word.
He's just not the best.
Cabal Console of Allocation is one of the white black cards that I really like, and I've seen pop up more and more. And in Modern specifically, and power formats that play a lot of low cost cards.
I like he's fine. I like the black-white artifact creature that Thoughtseize as a person better.
Sculler. I also really like Sculler.
And I don't think Sculler's the best black-white card, so it's hard for me to say Kamal is.
My pick in black-white is very
Pontiff
clearly...
was like one I was looking at before you said your thing.
Sin Collector. There's some other good ones.
Yeah.
Vindicate is my pick. And it's a pretty obvious pick, and it's an interesting pick because I actually think it's safe to print Vindicate into Modern Horizons to the point that it's actually one of my picks. I think we're going to see Vindicate in Modern Horizons. The more I've thought about it.
So I have a question. What's better, Vindicate or Maelstrom Pulse?
Vindicate.
Doesn't kill tokens, though. Like
it doesn't matter. The fact
like
that Vindicate... Here's the difference.
Doesn't kill Phoenixes.
Sure, but think about this. In a game of Magic... Let's say 30% of the games that you play against someone are going to be them stalling out on mana and you winning because they can't hit a third land or a second land. That happens. It happens enough times in any format of Magic where somebody loses a game to Mana Screw. The fact that your removal spell in your hand now increases your likelihood to end the game for them when they struggle makes it like in any.
Well, but that's like 20% of the use of the card, right? Like sometimes you're just going to have instant speed Stone Rain. That's really good.
Sorcery speed.
Is Vindicate a sorcery? No, is it? Cool. You're right. I play Modern. I don't Legacy cards. Maelstrom Pulse I know is a sorcery.
Sometimes you'll have a Stone Rain in your opening hand.
Sometimes you'll have a Stone Rain, and you'll notice they'll stumble on land. I think one of the reasons Vindicate was always as powerful as it was in Legacy, sorry, back to knowing what Vindicate does, is it was able to coexist with Wasteland, and together they're able to actively punish people's mana bases. Legacy eventually evolved to a position where it doesn't really function on more than 2 lands unless you're specific decks, and those decks play enough lands that they can get around a Vindicate. And Modern today is there. Like, Phoenix doesn't care if you Vindicate one of its lands. War Prison doesn't care if you Vindicate one of its lands. Amulet Titan has like 8 different ways to get around you Vindicating one of the lands. And the best deck. Dredge obviously doesn't care about Vindicating its lands. Turn 3 is so slow.
That's the format as it currently exists right now. I guess my point is, like, you're not going to play Stone Rain or like any card like that unless format specific you want to have cards to answer lands. What Vindicate does is Vindicate is a really good answer to anything, but it also
I think
happens...
Vindicate's really good, and I think it deserves to be added to the format. I'm just saying...
It also happens to win you games by accident, and the reason I say this is I haven't played that much Legacy, but I've played enough Highlander with that card in decks to know that when somebody stumbles and you just happen to have Vindicate in your opening hand, it's such a feel bad and such a good chance that you're going to win that game because you just end the game on accident on turn 3.
But that sentence, more than any other thing, is
why
the
they
reason
won't print
I
it?
don't think it could be added to Modern Horizons. Like, of the ways that it's better than Maelstrom Pulse are the ways that it's problematic in Modern Horizons versus, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And especially since they just printed Assassin's Trophy, and Assassin's Trophy is so similar, but with a fixed Vindicate problem of not having a Stone Rain that's good other times.
Yeah. So what's your black-white
card? Lingering Souls.
That's like not really a black-white card, though.
So, based on the rules we've created as this podcast of how we are going to rate top 10 cards, Lingering Souls was not included in our top 10 white cards and was going to be number 1 in our top 10 white-black cards.
Fine.
And you can't like, if it was just a white card, you wouldn't cast it.
Lingering Souls is really good.
Maybe if it was just a black card, you would maybe just cast the black card if you weren't playing white.
I still take Vindicate, but I understand where you're coming from.
Okay, well, we disagree.
Please let us know what you think in the comments.
Yes,
that's a great idea.
Let us know who won.
The third color combination.
In fact, on let us know down in the comments who you side with on all 10 of these picks.
Yeah, we actually would love to know, and your picks too.
We normally do that as a poll on Twitter, but now we're doing it as a poll on the YouTube channel. So go to the YouTube channel, let us know which one of them. And subscribe and share and comment with your vote for which one's better, specifically mine picks.
So now let's do white-red.
There you go.
Cool.
White-red.
This one's easier.
Yeah, it's really easy.
And none of the picks I think available weren't in Modern that I was even close to liking.
There were only 3 picks for me. It's the 2 Planeswalkers and the spell.
Yeah.
And I went with the spell.
There's 2 spells.
Yeah, I think there's 2 spells too.
But one spell's the better one.
Yes.
It's Lightning Helix.
Oh, it's Lightning Helix! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Helix is the clear answer for me.
Lightning Helix is the best white-red card ever printed.
Yeah.
Boros Charm is the other spell.
And I like Boros Charm, but Boros Charm is hyper specific to the deck that it's good in Modern, and like really
Marshall, how many Boros Charms have you played in Commander?
Infinity.
because of the indestructibility, right? That's
all of the modes have their place.
interesting. I've played it. I mean, I've played the card in Modern. I've also played the card in Highlander, which is my 100-card format.
Sure.
But like, I like Boros Charm.
Yeah.
It recently got cut from my wheel because I found that it was like,
Just not almost good enough.
yeah, but really good. But Helix will never get cut because Helix is like.
I think Boros Charm is worse than both the Planeswalkers. I think in my rank.
In power, in pure power, like Gisela is more powerful. But like in terms of power versus cost,
power level played in the format. Yeah, obviously pure power. Like this conversation doesn't matter because there's like blue-red cards that are just like Niv Mizzet, the 6-mana one that just isn't standard, is better than every blue-red card if it's in play. But get it into play is the problem.
Yeah, I think those are really good. I mean, I think talking about the Planeswalkers though, really quickly. First of all, which Planeswalker is better in your opinion?
Between so people don't know, it's a Johnny Vengeance and Nahiri Vengeance.
The Harbinger.
A lot of Vengeance in white-red, which is weird. Because I don't know if I would.
No,
I guess because you're a hero that's looking to do some damage.
It's not Nahiri the Vengeance. It's Nahiri the Harbinger.
No, but like the plot of Nahiri, she's getting vengeance. I know
Right.
she's not
Well,
a vengeance
I believe
character,
Mark Rosewater talked about that vengeance is a very red-white feeling because, vengeance has an emotional tie, which is the red, and it's also violent, which is red's thing. But there's a certain self-righteousness about why you're getting it.
There's a
fits
rule
the right
of law to why you are trying to do some damage.
Could arguably be a Mardu feel too, because there's also a little bit about like I'm punishing you. For
I feel like the
you've
plot
done.
of every single movie that involves a vengeance plot is the debate over whether black is involved in that emotion.
So
is it evil to get vengeance? We're not going to move into that moment, but we are going to talk about. I think a Johnny Vengeance is the better planeswalker between the two.
a Johnny Vengeance to me is one of the most curiously underplayed powerful cards ever printed. It's always so surprisingly good when you play it, and it always like it just does so much, but it never quite makes it into Modern. Like it never.
And I think Nahiri sees more play than a Johnny purely from the fact that Nahiri directly wins you the game,
right?
Where a Johnny is a side piece to your control game plan. But I think that if I were to choose. At the things that they're doing, I think a Johnny is one of the best ever created, while there are a ton of different threats that exist other than Nahiri that are good, and Nahiri is just one of the many, and it depends on the metagame. Like,
Nahiri's minus is very versatile, though.
Yeah. She's really good.
And she can do it twice before she can just come in minus.
Remember, all of these, like, there's a ton of other white-red cards that are not good that we're not talking about. These are the three best, and fourth best if you want to include Boros Charm. All right, so give us another color combo.
All right, let's do white-green. Let's finish off the white color pairs.
All right, white-green is maybe the best gold color combo ever made. For the top, so when we decided to do our top 10 guild lists, I made my top 10 green one, and when we do that episode, I'll say this exact rant again. But deepest by a mile. I thought it was gonna be blue red. I thought it was gonna be black green. Green white is the deepest gold color combo in Magic
by a significant margin.
Like I think blue green was the worst. I think that might have changed, and it might be blue black now. We'll figure that out on another day. But like literally every card in the top 10 was modern playable, if not legacy playable, there were 3 cards I had to leave off. And I think there's 2 cards that are very obviously the best one, and what's interesting is one is the best card maybe in Magic history that's green white.
Yep.
The other, but it's not the best one in Modern. And the other pick I think is the best green white card in Modern.
Other cards that are very good that clearly do not make it. Voice of Resurgence. Oh my god, it's so good. I was like looking at Voice and I was like,
I can't talk anymore. I get the podcast to myself until I say your name 3 times.
I was looking at Voice and I was like, wow, I can't believe this is not. I'm not even going to begin to talk myself into how good this card is. This is just not. I'm not going to. Nope. There's better cards. For me, there's 2 clear picks, and then there's one I texted you about earlier that I actually think is low key extraordinary, and like people don't know it because of the fact that it's not legal in Modern. So I'll clear it because I don't think it's the best one.
Okay.
And it's Eladamri's Call.
Oh.
It's I mean, it's
Everyone
possible.
likes this card. It's fine.
What?
Everyone likes this card. It's fine.
You don't like this card for some weird reason. We talked about this the other day.
2-mana tutor.
Eladon Recall, one green, one white, instant speed. Search your library for a creature card, put it into your hand. It's where this card is so good is that like you can convince yourself that Court of Calling is better because of the fact that Court of Calling has the added application of playing like a bunch of dorks and being able to like turbo it out.
The fact you put it into play.
Agreed, but this is 2 mana different. So
when they can't counter the thing you're picking.
Sure, but you have to wait until a later point in the game to make Court of Calling any good. Otherwise, you're like getting a 1-drop. If this card was weak, it would be legal in Modern, and it's not. So,
well,
if this card was not that good, they would have
just
put it
hasn't
back
been
into
printed.
Standard at some point, and
Sure.
they could have because this card was originally printed back in
but
Plane
I think there's an argument that it's on the border, and I think it's above the border. I think it's too good to be in Modern. I think that type of effect is not what they want.
Don't think this will be in Modern Horizons.
No, I don't.
Okay, interesting.
Especially because it was just printed in M25.
M25, yep.
So I think that makes it a little bit.
This is something like because I've been doing a lot of research because I know we're going to be doing a lot of Modern Horizon speculation, and I've been looking over cards that I think could be in, and a ton of cards that I think would be very safe and interesting to add to Modern were printed in either Ultimate Masters or Masters 25, and I wonder, do you think printing in one of those 2 most recent Masters will disqualify it?
And I know I kind of just said that. I think if a card is borderline to consider, no, maybe. But I think that if Wizards thought it should be in the set, it doesn't matter if it was printed. In fact, it maybe even make it more likely because every card that's old that was in one of those that's in this and is out of the Modern is going to spike. And so it being in a recent Master set on top of it being in this is actually probably a benefit in that way. Like the fact that, let's say, Force Will was in one of those sets, if not a few of those sets, and now is in this set, makes it easier to get your hands on, which is a net positive.
Well, yeah, and because the reality is the difference between those 3, including Iconic Masters, and those Modern Master sets, are that those Modern Master sets, the cards spike way back up. All the cards pretty much from those 3, Iconic, 25, and Ultimate Masters, have stayed pretty low, actually. Like
Ultimate Masters didn't drop that much. So because the packs were costed at a Modern Masters 1 price point.
Yeah.
Those cards didn't have the same amount of drop off as some of them did, and the ones that were like expensive because they were hard to find and they were commander staples, not because they were played in large numbers, dropped. But for the most part, you're going to find a lot of the staples didn't depreciate as much as they did. Say, like, for instance, Noble Hierarch before Modern Masters 2 came out was like a $50 card and then went down to $15. It immediately went back to $30. It bounced back really quickly.
Some of the cards tanked. Like for instance, like Engineered Explosives is a great example. EE is like $17 now. It was like $80 for a while.
Is it not back to up? I thought it was back up.
I just bought one for $17.
Okay.
Ultimate Masters lowered the price on a lot of cards. In fact, so much so to the point that I would tell people watching or listening to this, if you're interested in getting foils of certain cards that you have not owned one in a long time and you would like to look at it, go look online for foil prices in Iconic Masters, Masters 25, and Ultimate Masters, and you'll be shocked at what you're finding. There are some cards you can get foils of right now from those sets that are astoundingly low. And I don't know that you're going to make a lot of money, but it's definitely going to be the cheapest you're going to get a lot of these cards for. I bought a foil Gamble for $9.
Okay.
Or $6 maybe.
Okay.
Just surprising. So anyway, those are our picks for White Red, right? Or did we just do another one?
That was white. We were doing white green.
We haven't said
We
what
were
our
talking-
cards are.
yeah,
We were
yeah.
talking about we were talking about Eladon Recall.
Okay, you go first. I'll say mine.
No, Kessler, you have to go first this time.
Oh, okay. So Night of the Reliquary.
I went Kitchen Finks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like looking and I was like, I like Knight a lot, and I've played Knight to a lot of success in a lot of different formats. I think Finks is just the most ubiquitous, playable, always good, no matter what card.
So I had a long conversation with this on Michael because I was back and forth, and I kind of picked Knight because I knew you're picking Kitchen Finks, and I do think they're actually really close. But I think that Knight is a more powerful card in Magic overall. Like, it's more powerful in every other format for the most part that it's in.
The way that it interacts with like older lands and things like that.
But yeah, once you hit Legacy, the land mana base that are available, once you Commander, the lands that are available make him much, much, much stronger than he is in Modern. The fact that he is the fact that she is as playable as she is in Modern, like, there's, yes, Kitchen Finks has its instant combo, and there's a lot more pieces that combo with it, so it is a little bit more versatile in that way. But Knight has its own infinite combo. Like, you go off with Coral Helm.
Retreat, yeah.
And has just, there's always been a green-white deck that's playing Knight that kind of exists purely off of the back of Knight, where Kitchen Finks is a much more versatile sideboard card, and I think it's shown up a lot more because it's as good as it is as a sideboard card, or it's in the combo deck. And that combo deck has been one of the best decks in Modern history. But that deck is not outside of Modern. Like, Kitchen Finks isn't played in Commander. Kitchen Finks isn't played in Legacy. Or it's played in Legacy at a much, much, much smaller level than it is here.
It's interesting. For whatever reason, both of these cards were off my radar in terms of cards I liked playing for a very long time. I didn't own a copy of either one for years. So much so to the point that 10 years into Highlander, I didn't play a single one in my wheel until like last month.
Okay.
But I will tell you that I put Knight into that green-white all-in. It's like a double striking kind of deck. And it's blown my mind with how good it is.
It's really good.
The fact that, like, there are lands that you can get that are basically giant growth effects, that you can get a Karakas, that you can get a Mazavith, that you can, like...
Sajiri Step is the, like...
Sajiri Step,
you just, can win by this being in play.
There's just so much versatility that the being able to tech your mana base in a green-white deck where you inevitably can play a high number of both plains and forests, whether they're duals or they're just basics, but then also the 20% or so of lands that you play that are, like, utility lands. Like, you can get an Inkmoth Nexus end of turn with this card, set it up, and if you have the correct setup, to just win on your turn with it. Like, it's really, really good. But I will tell you, I still, as much as that's the case,
There's one that gives double strike when it enters play. Does that exist?
There's red-white ones. There's
not that give double strike when it enters the battlefield. No, there's one that gives first strike.
It's the Titan land.
But there are two. There are two that give double strike.
Slayer's Stronghold, I believe, is the one we're thinking
and
of.
Sunhome,
Sunhome,
Fortress of the
those
Legion.
and they both get played in. They historically have both been played at different times in Amulet Titan.
Yeah. Sorry, I forget if there was because there's the spell lands from Zendikar.
Yeah.
I thought maybe there was one. I know
there's one that gives first strike
and one that gives unblockable or makes it so a creature can't block.
That's design space that's not yet explored. I do think
Probably too good.
I do think though that Finks just in general is the more like pound for pound good card, but they're so close.
Yeah, it's hard. Like, if the rest of the format doesn't if there's no combo pieces for Finks, I think Knight's a better card. Like, I think you can slot Knight into any format and it's going to be decent to amazing, and you can slide Kitchen Finks and it's going to be generically fine. That's fair. When you have a combo on top of it, Kitchen Finks just wins the contest because its combo is a much better combo than Knight's is. But then look at Legacy, and then you add better lands, and it kind of reshuffles it. So it's hard. I think this is the hardest color to pick.
Yeah, this was the hardest one for me for sure.
I think it was this and red green. This one I wanted to talk about both. Red green we'll get to, and we can figure that out then.
So let's move on next to blue black.
No, blue black. Okay.
Blue black.
Fine.
So this is an interesting one.
Pick one.
Blue black, I have
two.
A relatively obvious pick, and then I have a pick that I really like that I almost can defend, and then there's the pick that I think when we did our blue black episode that never actually aired, you picked this card because of the way that it fits into the deck you love so much. I'm thinking that you're not going to pick that card.
I had none of the cards that I have on my list, and we should do a better job moving forward of reading what these cards do, especially the older ones. None of the cards on my list for blue black are modern legal. Neither of them.
So one of those is going to be Baleful Strix, I'm assuming.
Yes.
And Baleful Strix is my favorite pick. It's the one that I was like, how is this not the best blue-black card ever printed? Baleful Strix, I guess we'll just start now, is blue-black for a 1/1 flying Death Touch artifact creature. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card. It's such a good card. It blocks creature decks. It replaces itself when you reanimate it or blink it or do anything like that.
Discard it, the Force of Will.
It holds equipment really, really well. It
turns on Delirium pretty single-handedly.
Yeah, the card is so good.
Tarmogoyf gets +2/+2.
And so I think pound for pound, this is the best card. My pick is Tezzeret Agent of Bolas. I know it's worse, but I picked Tezzeret Agent of Bolas.
Okay, go.
Explain it?
No, yeah. Go for it, Ben.
I picked Tezzeret Agent of Bolas because I think while Baleful Strix is a super, super unique card, Baleful Strix, or Tezzeret Agent of Bolas, I think is an even more unique card for where it sits. The printing of Karn recently makes me feel like there's another Planeswalker that's really powerful in that slot that interacts nicely with artifacts. But I still think that in the correct deck, I have enjoyed playing Tezzeret Agent of Bolas. It's a more pleasing Magic card. Like,
that's not best.
I'm just saying, I went for a weird pick on this one. Psychotog was the other card that I picked.
No, yeah, Psychotog is probably the best card in Magic. Best blue black card.
That's your pick?
Baleful Strix, I think, is actually what it is, but Psychotog was my second pick, and it's between the two, and it's hard. I didn't play when Psychotog was in Standard, but my general understanding was that you were playing wrong if you weren't playing with Psychotog.
Psychotog also, though, that's like Magic from like 15 years
Sure,
ago.
true.
So
But
it's
like
kind
it's
of
still like I've played with it in Highlander and it's really good there.
yeah.
So Psychotog, for people who don't remember back in the day, cost 1 blue-black for a 1/2 ATOG that had discard a card from your hand, give it +1/+1 until end of turn, exile 2 cards from your graveyard, give it +1/+1 until end of turn.
It gets real big real quick and also is a great discard outlet in a set that wants you to have a bunch of stuff in your graveyard.
Yeah, it's an uncommon originally from Odyssey. I think Psychotog is like maybe like I didn't play Standard in Odyssey, and maybe if this card was in Modern, I would just know that it was insane and it would just dominate the
I don't know.
format.
Yeah.
The card that I thought you were going to mention that you didn't mention was Prized Amalgam. That's the card that I thought you were going to lean into heavier because it's so good in its particular type of deck,
Sure.
but you didn't.
I like Prize Amalgam as well over Tezzeret.
You know, can I ask you guys a question as the Masters of Modern? Are you surprised that Hostage Taker hasn't seen Modern play yet?
It's on my list, and it has. It sees play in
okay.
humans.
Oh,
it sees
okay.
play in human sideboards usually. It's a really good
Do you think
card.
Hostage Taker is better than Tezzeret?
So are we just going to stick on talk about how much you think cards are better than Tezzeret playing for a while?
I
Because
think I can make up a top 10 cards in Magic that are better than Tezzeret and Blue Blacklist. I love Tezzeret.
Shade.
I think he's
Let us know
probably
how much
9.
you like this trash talk in the comments.
this is great. I feel really confident about sharing my favorite cards on this show, guys.
No.
No.
I-
You've already
I
made your
love-
bed. You
I
need to
think
lay in
Silas
it.
Ren is better
Ben,
than Tezzeret
hey, Ben.
as an artifact themed.
Ben, I'll come to your defense because the card I had in this was the sleeper Yuriko the Tiger Shadow
Card
as
is
my
sweet.
favorite.
Yuriko
Dimir
is
card.
great. I played Yuriko in Commander, and also Silas Ren is really good.
Up next is Blue Red. What as we've been talking.
there's one card.
Spoiler alert for people who've already been listening to the show. But
Yeah, we said it last week. It's Dak Faden.
Yeah, and in fact, we recorded our preview episode that goes up next week, and in that episode, I referenced it, and just without even knowing your pick, was like, we both picked Dak Vaden. It's that clear.
Yeah, well, we talked about it. Like, the closest was Fire and Ice.
Yeah, Fire Ice is really good.
And I think that Fire Ice has the conversation of other cards that might be added, and if we wanted 2 cards to talk about, could be a card that's added. I think the best blue-red card is Electrolyze in Modern.
Yeah, and I think
But it's Dak Faden. That card is, like, it was surprising because same reason when we were doing the top 10 list and we were writing down what our picks would be in the future, how blue-red is actually relatively shallow. There's a lot of good cards that combine from blue and red together, Snapcaster Mage and Lightning Bolt being the best example, or Splinter Twin in anything that untaps a creature. But Dak is the best gold blue-red card.
and there's other sweet
Or
cards
hybrid.
too, like that are not the pick. Like Keranos is really good.
Sorry, all the Noggles are better.
Yeah,
I should have picked a Noggle.
I'm
How
like
did I
a-
not do it?
I'm like a gigantic fan of
Noggle Bandit.
Saheeli Ray, like a huge fan. But like really, Dak Vaden is a card that was not designed for Standard, and that's why they pushed it so hard. And it's a great
It
card.
was the first Planeswalker they ever printed non-standard as well, at a time where they are also heavily promoting the comic books that he was the main character of.
Didn't they do him and Kaya in the same set?
No, Kai's in the next
Oh,
conspiracy.
it's the next. This was the only one from that first conspiracy. Okay,
It was
interesting.
him, and then very quickly they came out with the 5 Commander Planeswalkers, and then
And Doretti
then-
was in the second set
and
as
then
well.
Doretti and
Yeah.
Kai in the second set.
Yeah.
Ah, okay, got it.
and then the next time they had 5 more Planeswalkers in.
Gotcha.
There's been 2 Planeswalker Commander sets, the 2 conspiracy sets, now Battle Bond.
And then Battle Bond added Will and Rowan Kenway.
Yeah. The pair
And
ones.
then Urza is in Unstable.
Yeah.
I think we're missing one draft set that's weird.
I can just say that on the whole, scale of
not.
1 to 10 from both of you guys. How successful do you think
the Chinese?
we just talked about him? Yeah.
Yeah. The Chinese World Series or
Oh,
whatever.
those weren't the ones you were saying from Battle Bond.
No, that Rowan Kenrith and Will Kenrith are
got
the
it.
partners.
Oh, gotcha.
Those were from Battle Bond, but we didn't say the
were
ones
Battle
from the Chinese
from
exclusive sets.
from the global series.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Mu Yanling and Jiang
They were not good.
Yang.
Well, that was Gavin's like number 1 pick for his least
Things
favorite
that didn't
product
work.
they messed up on last year.
Let me ask you guys: scale of 1 to 10. And you can even go above it if you think. How successful do you think the card type Planeswalker is in Magic's history to this point?
Extremely successful.
Like over 10.
The Wizards has been good at backing off of things that aren't working, and
Yeah.
they are doubling down to the extent that there are going to be 36 Planeswalkers in the next set.
I mean, it went from being because we've had Planeswalkers for a little less than a decade, right? They
More.
debuted
More than a decade.
more than a decade.
Yeah.
And when they debuted 5 of them in Lorwyn.
Exactly a decade.
Yeah, or like exactly.
I think Lorwyn
2008. I think.
Lorwyn's was 07, 08. I'm pretty sure. I think it was the fall set in late 07. It might be the late 08 set, but it's definitely over 10 years.
But they put 5 Planeswalkers in that set and then went 3 sets in a row with no new walkers because their plan was like to test it. Maybe we'll put them in occasionally. And the demand for Planeswalkers have been so high that they then put 4 in the next set and then 1 in the following set and then didn't do any in Alara Reborn. And we're just like, nope, I think we just need to put walkers in every single set. People are screaming for them.
And it's interesting. We did a ranking at one point of the top 100 Planeswalkers. We did all of them?
No. We did 2 rankings. One was top 100 cards and one was Planeswalkers.
Every Planeswalker. And that was probably over a year ago, the Planeswalker thing. So there's a few really good walkers that have been printed since. Teferi was not printed at the time. New Karn, I mean. New Karn is one of my favorite Planeswalkers ever. I think New Karn is probably a top 20. I'll bet you.
Also better than Blue-Black Tezzeret. So back to Dak Maiden. Speaking of 3-mana Planeswalkers, that card's nuts. The ability to discard cards, then draw cards off of it at 2 for 3 mana is insane. And that seems like a mistake to me. Like, that could have been draw a card, discard a card, and it would be fine. But the fact that it's 2 is really good for 3 mana.
Is Faithless Looting any good?
No. I don't think we'll see play.
Do you think a walker could have +1 Faithless Looting and it would see any play?
Maybe. And then stealing an artifact is like versatile and fine in Modern, and probably the worst in Modern than any other format that it's been played in, but still good.
This card would obviously never be legal in Modern. It would be a very big...
People have slotted as something that could be printed. I mean, like...
This feels like a massive mistake to print this into Modern. Like,
we'll see. I think I can see them not realizing Phoenix was going to be what it is, and them just throwing a Hail Mary.
It's just too.
It's not that good with Phoenix. I mean, obviously you get to put Phoenixes in your yard, and you would for sure play this in the deck, but it's not like it triggers the Phoenix.
It just feels like it's pushed. Like the draw 2, discard 2 effect alone, if it did literally nothing else, it just did that.
And in Modern, kind of that's what it is. It's Dak's ultimate is just you steal, and now whenever you target a thing, you steal that thing.
His ultimate's blank.
Yeah, his ultimate doesn't do anything unless it's weird, and then his -2 is just going to be a versatile hate card.
It's his -2 if this card is main decked. You go up against like an Affinity, a Hardened Scales, or a Tron deck, there's a decent chance that like they have to play a little more carefully against you and can't give you the opportunity on your turn.
So the question is does Wizards think a 3-mana draw 2 cards, discard 2 cards is too good in Modern?
I 100% think so. Like, think about that card. Like, Dredge doesn't need this card because Dredge is faster than this card, but just think about the ability to have a repeatable effect online that allows you to do that over and over again.
I think it would very quickly become one of the best cards in the format. The question isn't does this card become one of the best cards in the format, is that does this card become so good in the format that Wizards would be terrified of printing it in Modern Horizons? And that, I don't know.
Sweet.
Cool.
Next up on the list, we have blue-green.
Yeah.
The worst color combination in Magic.
So as I said earlier, I believe our pick on the Modern episode was Slippery Bogle.
Worst gold color combination in Magic.
Yes.
Marshall's questioning this. It's true. I'm going to stand by it.
So you picked one that is a commander card, right?
I did.
So talk about what that card is.
So I think it's Prophet of Krufix. And part of this was I put up a poll because I wasn't sure. I think that I have another card that I don't know if you picked that card, so I have a fourth card or fifth card. But between Prophet, Slippery Bogle, Charlotte's Agent, and one other
Growth Spiral.
Growth Spiral. I put them all on the poll. Oh no, I put Hydra Crisis. And
those are to me that feels like the 5.
Those are the 5
that you're picking from.
And I can look up the poll really quickly, but Prophet of Krufix won, and there's a good argument for it. I mean, Commander obviously is in a competitive format, but it is the only blue-green card to ever be banned in Magic history, possibly. I'm going to say that sentence, and then maybe I might be wrong.
Seems highly likely.
It is in any format. It is very powerful. It's too slow for Modern. Obviously, it's been around for Modern. People have tried making it work. I've seen people try and put a 5-mana creature card because it is kind of free in many ways. And it just is really powerful and powerful enough that it couldn't be legal in Commander. My pick for new kid on the block is Growth Spiral.
That's my pick. Growth Spiral is just my pick outright.
Oh, really? I think Charlotte's Agent is the best blue-green card ever printed in a competitive format.
Yeah, you can do a lot of really cool things with Charlotte's Agent. Like, its Cascade is a mechanic that's been abused several times.
Bloodbright Elf is currently on my list of top cards in Red Green, and we'll talk about that soon. And Shardless Agent is at many times better than Bloodbright Elf. The fact that it also is in a better color, it has blue, though I think red is really good too. But and in Legacy, it does dumb things like get you him to Torox, and Ancestral Vision is really good. And I think that type of game plan, if it was printed into Modern, would be extremely powerful and would be really cool to play like Temur, Cascade, Ancestral Visions decks where you're playing with both it and Bloodbright Elf that you get just to like.
Yeah, that seems really powerful. I think where I go with Growth Spiral instead is that Cascade at 3 mana, its primary function historically has been to play something for free and set your deck up to take advantage of it. There's a lot of 3 mana Cascade spells you can already play. So I like this card a lot. It's great, and obviously it's the best version of those cards. Growth Spiral, doing what it does, is very clearly a cut above the other version of what this card was, which was Explorer.
Yeah.
The fact that it's instant speed, this card can be played alongside 2 mana blue instants at the end of turn.
Well, no, I think Growth Spiral, I'm willing to just be wrong on this in a year when Growth Spiral becomes one of the best cards in a format or in Standard. But right now it hasn't had the chance to do that, and on paper it seems very powerful. Shardless Agent has shown itself to be very powerful. I also think it could be added to Modern. I think Shardless Agent is another card people are like relatively fine on, especially since they like let Bloodblade Elf out of the cage a year ago,
Hasn't done that
and
much.
it could have been in line. And like, I would have to like, what would be interesting is looking at a timeline of like, when did they see Bloodbraid Elf into the format, and when did they sign off on Modern Horizons? Because that actually just answers your question if Shardless Agent could be in this set. If they didn't have time, then they didn't put it in because they were too afraid of Bloodbraid Elf. But now that they've had time with it legal, they might have put it in.
Do you think so? You think inherently that Shardless Agent is more dangerous than Bloodbraid Elf?
I think at worst, it's comparable. Like, I think that if you think Bloodbraid Elf is too powerful for a format, then Shardless Agent is too powerful for that format.
I mean, yeah, it's just like
Because I
Bloodbraiding.
think it's a better card. Bloodbraid Elf sees loose play in Jund decks in Legacy. Shardless Agent is a tier 1 deck in Legacy, or has been many times over time been a tier 1 deck built around that card in Legacy.
Bloodbraiding into a Shardless Agent is awesome. That's just like all we really need to say. That's sweet.
Well, that's the most fun idea I have here. But like, the point is that like, it's 3 mana 2/2 that draws you 3 cards or discards your opponent's hand. Them discarding 2 cards at random was what it was doing there. Worst case Brainstorm is what it was doing.
I mean, that like what you were talking about, like if Shardless Agent is in Modern Horizons, then a Temur Cascade deck that plays Growth Spiral but also can cascade. So cascading into Growth Spiral, cascading into Ancestral Visions, cascading into just plain old Lightning Bolt off of either of those cascaders sounds like good times, great oldies.
And one thing I didn't bring up, and I want to make sure because people are going to message us if I don't. One of the reasons Shardless Agent is more powerful than Bloodbraid Elf in Legacy is because it has the blue color and Force of Will exists, so that's always a worst case scenario there. But I think they're comparable in power level without Force of Will, and obviously with Force of Will, it's a big deal.
What do you think about Thrasios? I know a lot of people are talking about. Is it just because it only sees Fringe Legacy and is dominating in Commander?
I think it's really good. I think it would be my 6th pick. I don't think it's better than Prophet of Krufix in Commander, because it would have been banned if it was that good, or it would have been in a conversation in that way, and I don't think it has been, and I don't think it is better than Shardless Agent in Legacy, and those are my 2 picks. And in both of those formats, it's not better than another option. And is it better than those cards collectively if you combine both? It might be close, but I don't think it's there yet.
Prophet untaps during each other player's untaps it, right? So in Commander, you get an untap during every.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what
And then
creature spells have flash.
And creature spells have flash.
So
So
you
it's
can just-
it's Leyline and
It's I take a turn whenever you take a turn.
Right.
is
and
what-
that 5 mana green creature is at the same time.
what?
It's Leyline and that 5 mana green creature that untaps things. I can't think of the name of it right now.
Seedborn Muse.
There you go,
Seedborn Muse,
Muse.
It's
and then
Seedborn
it's
plus
blue
Yeva,
Leyline.
basically.
Yeah.
So moving on to our next one, our last several, we have black green.
Wait, before we go to the black green, I want to say one statement. It's interesting how many of the top 10 blue-green cards were in the last set.
Yeah, I mean they pushed it. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah,
crazy.
because Vanifar is also
Yeah,
feels real
Vanifar is on the
strong,
top
and
10,
Hydroid
and Hydra Crate. Like, literally, my top 10 has at
episode-
least 3.
Totally different than when we did it like a year ago or
I
whatever.
think by the end of it, we might have to go back. Okay.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Black green. And I think for black green, unfortunately, it's a short conversation. There's some really good ones like Abrupt Decay and Maelstrom Pulse, and even I think the runner-up, which is Pernicious Deed, but like it's just 100%.
So I think Assassin's
Trophy,
sorry.
yeah.
Assassin's Trophy, Abrupt Decay are the like second places. I think that Maelstrom, Pulse, and Pernicious Steed are that third place, and I think it's a conversation which one of those is better than the other one. And I think Pernicious Steed has a high chance of being printed into this set.
I think it's interesting that it doesn't hit Planeswalkers, and it feels not like a wasted spot, but like a little bit of a whiff on a card they would print into the set for that reason.
I think like between that and the black pay life to wipe the board, that seems more
Deluge.
likely. It's like a favorite card of people's. It does a lot of cool things. It has cool effects that it does. I think it'd be really interesting. I think it would see a ton of play and be, but like fairly. And like the format needs more board wipes. I need more ways to kill prized amalgams, and I need more ways to kill phoenixes. And they knew that those are issues.
And actually, this could be a situation where because it doesn't hit Planeswalkers, it maybe opens up a Rock Walker deck.
Right. Yeah.
Especially if we get a...
And they already are. Like Jund right now is playing Chandra, 4-mana Chandra, and Liliana, and the other 3-mana Liliana. Like the one that kills
Last Hope, yeah.
Last Hope. So like it's already kind of there. And adding Pernicious Steed in that deck kind of works, and I don't think Jund, to be totally honest, this is another card that, like, how good did they know Bloodbrave Elf was in the format? And that is going to dictate how likely they were to print it in Modern Horizons, because I think those were lining up pretty closely, and if they were afraid of Jund being too good, no way they print Pernicious Steed. But if they think that Jund was going to be fine, or they already saw that it was just fine, then they print it.
Yeah. So the obvious pick, though, is Deathrite Shaman. I don't know. There's as good as those other cards are, this is similar to a Dak Faden situation. One is so clearly the most insane card at its color combo.
Deathrite Shaman is the best gold card ever printed.
I think it's a fair statement. Yeah, I think it's the
It's
best
easily
card.
the best hybrid, but I think it might be the best gold card ever printed.
It's better than any of the other cards on this list. I think so. I don't think you have to check. I think that's just true. It's better than everything we've talked about so far.
It's so good that it's banned in Modern. So if you are a listener to the
Is it banned
podcast...
in Legacy? Am I wrong that it's not banned in
Didn't
Legacy?
it get banned in Legacy?
Yeah, it's banned in Legacy.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Yeah. It's
I'm willing to be
bananas.
wrong there because I haven't played
You're
Legacy.
right. It is banned in Modern and Legacy.
Yep.
So if you're a new listener to the Master of Modern podcast, do not go out and invest in Deathrite Shaman.
Unless you just want to play it in fun formats, because it is really fun.
I think that, depending on how inexpensive Deathrite Shaman is, buying a playset when it's as cheap as possible, because like you'll be able to like do the Stoneforge Mystic payment cycle of you buy them now when like right after a ban list announcement happens and it doesn't get unbanned, and then once the unbanning list announcement comes next, it'll spike and then you can sell it, and then it'll dip down again and you can buy more.
So our last two, I believe,
Because
are...
like, well, one thing on Deathrite
Yeah.
Shaman, because we don't get to talk about that card very much. I actually think Deathrite Shaman would be very healthy to Modern right now.
because it would eat phoenixes.
Yeah, I think like the
and
two
prized amalgams.
the most problematic deck, and I think there's issues with it, so I don't think it's a good idea to unprint it, but I think that the fact that it fights those two cards is an interesting thing. I think that the fact that it also fixes colors in the way that it does is the problem. But if it like ate a land to tap for a green mana, like Atlanta War Elf, instead of what it does, and then it did the other things, it would be fine.
So you're saying maybe if they find a way to make not a functional reprint, but a similar card that plays in that space, maybe that works. Possibly.
What if like 2-mana Deathrite Shaman is in
Well,
Modern Horizons?
I think I literally had this conversation with Gavin Verhey over a glass of wine like 3 months ago, and I asked him, do you think Deathrite Shaman would be too good at 2? And I think he was like, yes.
Well, I mean, and I think that speaks to why I've been seeing so much more Scavenging Ooze, because Scavenging Ooze is a lot like a 2-mana Deathrite for what we're talking about, eating prized amalgams and phoenixes.
I think
and stuff.
Deathrite. I'm actually surprised Scavenging Ooze hasn't ticked up. Like I think it's really good right now.
Ooze
I think partially just like decks that played are a little too slow to be doing good, but I think it's really powerful.
Ooze is really, really good. It's just, it's a little taxing, and you have to be, you have to have a lot of green mana available. And
I would
like
play
kinda,
4 Ooze before I played 4 Tarmogoyf and Jund right now. Easy.
I think they do.
I'd play 4 and 2 maybe.
I think Ooze
Yeah.
is a more played card right now in Modern. Tarmogoyf, you can get Tarmogoyf for cheap. You can get Tarmogoyf for like $40 right now. All right, moving on to the last couple categories. We have
Rakdos.
Black Red. Now this is an interesting one. I was shocked at how bad the cards were in general. I was considering like Terminate and like
Terminate was on my list for a while, and then I like remembered that I stopped at 2 mana, and then I looked back and was like, oh right, the best card is this.
I think this is another one where we both know, right?
Yeah, it's K command.
It's just Kolaghan's
It's Kolaghan's command. So black, red, colorless, instant discard. Target opponent either discards a card, takes 2. You do 2 because it has 5 abilities.
3 abilities.
4
5?
abilities. It has 4
No, it
abilities.
has 5.
Cold
'cause
gun
it does
command?
damage to a player or creature.
Oh, that's true. So one of the abilities can do 2 things.
Creature or player.
And now
get
3
a
because you
creature
hit
back.
planeswalkers. Direct
it's-
damage is like yeah. It does.
Bolt for 2.
Yeah, it's black, red 1, instant speed. Choose 2, and it's deals 2 damage to target creature or player, which now says any target. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand, or target player discards a card at instant speed. So it's instant speed discard or
destroy an artifact.
Destroy target artifact. So you have all kinds of crazy things you can do with this card. Like it's weird they printed it because
I could even argue there's 6 abilities. If you have like Lingering Souls in your hand and you don't have any white mana in Mardu and you just want to be able to cast a black side of Lingering Souls and discard it yourself.
They don't really print a lot of instant speed discard for similar reasons that we think that Vindicate is not going to be fun if it's in Modern, because like instant speed discard is not fun. When you're in top deck mode, your opponent's able to make you discard your card during like your draw step before you can actually play the card. That sucks. This card's really good. I love this card.
Yep. So I have my not in Modern card. Do you have one? I think it is the most powerful black-red card not in Modern. And I'm willing to be proven wrong, but
The most powerful black-red card not in Modern, is it Duretti?
no, you love this card. It's Vile Smasher.
Oh, Vile Smasher's so good!
Yeah.
I love Vile Smasher.
I think that card is really good. I think it would be really cool to have in Modern. I don't think any of those partner planes cards are going to be in this set. I think that block of text on the bottom makes it weird for that to be true.
Vile Smasher the Fierce is a creature, legendary goblin, I believe. It's a 2/3 for red, black, 1.
The
Vile
first
Smasher,
spell,
It has partner, so we can partner with another one to be your commander.
and the first spell you cast each turn,
it deals damage equal to that casting cost to each opponent.
a random opponent.
A random opponent.
Oh, so 1v1 it's just straight to them. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, so 1v1 it's one opponent. In Commander it's anybody.
Interesting.
And then, fun fact, he's Sarkin's best friend.
I've played this card a lot.
Right?
She is Sarkin's best friend. You're right.
Yeah, Vile Smasher I've played a lot. And this is a similar card to all of those partner planeswalkers, right? That there's only a foil version. There's no such thing as a non-foil version of this or Kess or a Traxa or that cycle is Brea. They're so good. That cycle of commanders is, I think, the most pushed, right?
You listed a few commanders that are not part of that cycle, but moving on from that,
Oh,
the
really?
partner cycle has like Silas Wren, Akili, Thrasios, which we mentioned.
So Atraxa and Brea are not in
Timna
that
the
cycle?
Weaver.
Atraxa and Brea were the 4 color commanders from that commander set, but the cycle are partners.
But they're all of those cards are cards that there's only a foil version.
Well, but
right?
that's true of all commanders.
Starting with Commander 2017 of it.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Well, all of the ones that came out in that
So
set.
like Kess is in a different.
Oh, Kess is in a different set.
Kess's was in the tribal
Wizards.
one. That was in the Wizards one. That
I
also
see.
had the
following year.
vampires in the following year.
Okay, yeah, gotcha.
And then the most recent year was the lands. It was like, we have random themes, but their planeswalkers were the 5 front facers.
Yeah, you have the 5-mana Jund land one, right?
Mm-hmm.
That card's really good.
Yes.
Those cards are all really fun.
Would speaking of that, would Lord Windgrace be too strong for Modern?
5 mana, I would say no. I've been trying to get him to work in Highlander, and he's like real expensive and doesn't do a whole lot.
He's kind of in the same category of card as like the Gitrog monster in a lot of ways. Like he's not the same card, obviously.
I think Gitrog is better than him.
Yeah, but like similar reasons that it's really hard to find a way to make Gitrog work in Modern, and like that's just kind of what it is. So that is our Rakdos. So
Now it's Gruul.
we have Gruul. It's the last one, right? I believe so.
So we did Kitchen Finks, Nether Reliquary, Teferi, Psychotog, K-Command, Lightning Helix, Lingering Souls, Death Ray, Shaman, Prophet, Krufix, deck, and I did a poll on this one too. And I disagree with the poll. Are you on the poll side or are you on my side?
From having played the cards in question a lot,
Mm-hmm.
it's just Manamorphose,
Okay.
in my opinion.
That's what the poll said. It was between Manamorphose and Bloodbraid Elf.
Bloodbraid is great, but like one of them they both are legal, and one of them sees play as a 4 of in multiple tier 1 decks, and the other one like has to fight to be relevant.
They're both really good. Manamorphose is the better card. Yeah, Manamorphose is the best blood green card ever printed.
Your deck gets worse if you take Manamorphose out of it. In fact, doesn't work in some cases If you take Blood Red Elf out of your deck and replace it with like a Huntmaster, your deck's worse, but it's still just a playable deck. You just lose decks if you can. Manamorphose is so unique.
I don't think that's true. I think there's decks. I think Manamorphose really, like, losing Manamorphose hurts those decks, but I don't think Storm goes away. I don't think Phoenix goes away. I don't think any of those decks go away. I think they just are worse, but they're fine.
I don't know. Phoenix might go away with that Manamorphose, honestly. It's really good, but I think it might be too slow for Modern without Manamorphose.
I disagree.
Your chain turns get so much worse.
Yeah, but your chain turns are, like, it's possible that your chain turns are 100% higher than they should be, and they maybe become 50% higher than they are without Manamorphose, but, like, the fact that you get that on turn 4 versus turn 3.
I can tell you from, like, 3 weeks ago playing 15 rounds with this deck that if you, in the games where my Manamorphose got countered, or in the mirror where I spell pierce their Manamorphose, it's like
Yes, but you've now spent 2 cards, 2 mana, and that turn trying to Manamorphose and failing. If you had instead waited a turn and spent 3 cards that you just had, you would have been better off, or you would be fine. That, like, yes, you're right. When Manamorphose gets countered, it's a huge feel bad. But
it's not just a feel bad. It's like it really
sure, but you've now wasted a turn and now also a card in your hand in a deck that needs you to cast multiple cards that now prevents you on your next turn. If you waited a turn, which slowing down Phoenix a turn is probably a good thing, and you now get an extra card from your deck because you drew a card for the turn. So you got the Manamorphose card you're going to draw, and now you have 3 mana to spend. Now if they counter one of your cards, you still get the Phoenixes back.
But the velocity of the deck is what makes it work. So, all
the rest
I'm
of
saying
your cards are still all cantrips. I mean, like, you replace Manamorphose with more Thought Scours or whatever cantrip you're not playing 4 of yet.
But Faithless Looting is card disadvantage. It's selection, but it is disadvantage. So using that card and getting the Phoenixes into your yard is, in theory, them in your hand. But if your opponent has one more turn to set up or disrupt you, and your Manamorphose isn't there...
The argument isn't that the deck doesn't get worse without Manamorphose. The argument is that the deck is still a tier 1 deck without Manamorphose.
I don't agree with you. I actually think without Manamorphose, that deck stops being tier 1.
Internet, you let us know what you think. I don't think you're going to convince me differently based on me playing with the cards, and you're not going to convince you differently based on you playing with the cards. So
yeah,
cool.
yeah. But I pick Manamorphose the best card.
Oh yeah, definitely this is the best card. I think it could be banned. I think that's a card to ban
Definitely.
in Modern.
That's
I don't
on the
think it's
watch
ever
list.
done anything
Yeah.
positive.
Yeah.
Cool. That's it. That's the episode.
That's the best card in every 2-color combination in Magic history. Stay tuned next week, guys. We are going to be doing a preview card. It's a big one.
Yep.
It's exciting.
So
the
that'll
Spark.
be releasing on the YouTube channel and on the podcast feed.
Yep.
Monday morning. And it's a big one. We got preview episode was very fun.
Yeah, we'll have a big version of the card behind us soon. And again, guys, thank you so much for sticking with us as we kind of update the office. This is exciting for us. We are remodeling.
We're literally in construction mode. If you look here, if you can see the wall, I don't know if you can.
Probably not.
Can you zoom out to see the wall?
Producer Marshall.
you can see the wall.
So see how it's there's plaster and drywall. This will be painted.
Yeah, this is all getting updated. So hopefully the sound is going to be officially super awesome.
Oh, you have no idea how much foam I've purchased to cover every wall.
It's going to be great. So
actually, Marshall, there's a corner piece. Throw it at me. See, I just wanted this to hit that on the head.
Yeah.
This is going to prevent sound from echoing. Thank you guys, everyone. We will see you guys next week.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for your attention. See you later, alligator.
This has been a production of Time Traveler Media, sending podcasts into the future.